who go in and instead of being stage 1 cancer are going to be stage 4 cancer. And we're going to hear horrible stories because Americans are going to choose to drop health insurance that they cannot afford. And we as a country have got to figure this issue out.
All right, folks, buckle up because CNN just gave us a masterclass in leftist meltdown. Scott Jennings, literally the only conservative they allow on their panels, just systematically destroyed every single Democrat talking point about healthcare and the government shutdown. And Anna Navarro? She absolutely came unglued. I'm talking full-blown emotional breakdown because she couldn't counter his facts with facts, so she did what progressives always do, made it personal, made it about feelings, and tried to paint him as the villain. This video is going to show you exactly why Democrats are panicking right now, why they're holding the government hostage, and why mainstream media will do anything to protect their narrative, even if it means embarrassing themselves on live television.
You can't get kicked out of health care because of a pre-existing condition. The idea that there's no caps. All of these things are things that we've all benefited from, particularly the neediest amongst us. Look, I think this issue is not going to go away. And we're going to be talking about this because we're going to hear horrible stories. People are not going to be able to afford their insurance. I don't think even with subsidies, they're going to be able to afford the premiums that are hiking up 100, 200, 300%.
Wasn't Obamacare supposed to fix that?
When people, no, well, not without the universal. I mean, there's
Affordable Care Act.
Yeah,
Affordable was the
listen,
first word.
The Republicans have been chipping away at the ACA, and I think this is going to be the death of the ACA, but it's also going to be the death of some Americans who don't go get screenings, who don't get diagnosed early enough in order to get treatment, who go in and instead of being stage 1 cancer are going to be stage 4 cancer. And we're going to hear horrible stories because Americans are going to choose to drop health insurance that they cannot afford. And we as a country have got to figure this issue out.
Right off the bat, you can see the problem here. Anna Navarro can't handle facts, so she goes straight to emotion. This is the playbook. When you don't have an argument, attack the messenger. Scott Jennings brings data, brings logic, and what does he get? Personal attacks and theatrics. Look, this is what CNN has become. They bring on one conservative voice and surround him with a panel of progressives who can't debate the actual issues. Instead of addressing Scott's points about government spending or policy failures, they make it about feelings. This is why Americans are tuning out mainstream media.
I know a lot of Republicans, I know a lot of Democrats. They're cut from different cloths. Democrats simply don't have the cold-heartedness necessary to see people suffering and just say, let them eat cake.
Yeah, but then
they are not the types that
They voted repeatedly to do it. I mean, you just heard Democrats
And what
on
was
our
Donald
air.
Trump doing in the meantime?
He doesn't have a vote in the legislature.
No, he's the president of the United States, the most powerful president with Republicans in my lifetime, Scott. He never once even told them, come back to Washington.
We just played
Democrat. You guys
Democrat.
have been out of Washington for a month and a half.
Correct.
A month and a half.
Anna, we just played Democrat after Democrat admit that the Democratic plan to prolong the shutdown was causing, quote, suffering. That was their words, not mine. Democrats themselves realized the tactic of suffering was no longer something they could personally stomach. That was their party, not Republicans.
Here's what they're not telling you. When Democrats talk about protecting healthcare or protecting working families, what they really mean is expanding government control and increasing your taxes. They frame every issue as if Republicans want people to suffer, when the reality is we want people to be self-sufficient. Notice how they never talk about the actual numbers? They don't mention that Obamacare premiums have skyrocketed. They don't mention that the subsidies they're fighting for are your tax dollars being redistributed. This is wealth redistribution, plain and simple, and they're using healthcare as the excuse.
If you didn't get the one thing that you were holding out for, what was it all for?
Well, I think we saw some things that we have not talked about that did happen. We saw what has happened with SNAP. I think that came out of this. What is happening with the WIC, Women, Infant, and Children programs. So some things did happen. When two courts said to Trump, feed these children, he has appealed that.
Why can't those
Why
two
won't he
judges?
feed the children?
Why won't Democrats feed the children? Why don't we
what
have?
do you
Hold on.
think?
Why don't we have two judges say to Democrats, "You must vote to open the government because kids are hungry"?
Wait, but here's the
What
thing.
two
Do two
judges?
unelected judges have that authority?
Branch question.
Just
I don't
answer
think
the
so.
question. You can
Why?
answer the question with your question all you want to, but the fact of the matter is,
An unelected judge probably
you-
does not have the authority
do you
to
believe-
tell the executive
Well, there
branch
are
what to
three
do.
different races
Wait,
in government.
this
This
is
is
my
my
question.
question.
They can and they
This is
did.
supposed to be
And
called-
snaps
judge
can work without.
Do you believe as a member of Congress, a judge can compel the executive to spend money that you haven't appropriated?
yes, I do.
All right, here's the moment that exposes everything. Watch this carefully. The question is simple and devastating. If you didn't get the one thing you were holding out for, what was it all for? And Clyburn's answer? Pure word salad. He starts fumbling about SNAP benefits and WIC programs, things that had nothing to do with why Democrats shut down the government in the first place. Let me translate what just happened here. Democrats held the government hostage. They demanded Obamacare subsidies or else. They made federal workers suffer. They made American citizens suffer. They made their big stand. And they got nothing. Zero. Zilch. So when confronted with that reality, Clyburn can't give a straight answer. He pivots to SNAP and WIC like those were the goals all along. But here's the problem. And nobody at that table called him out on this. Those programs were already funded. Those appropriations were sitting on Chuck Schumer's desk for months. The House had passed those bills. Republicans had already voted to fund those programs. Multiple times. This wasn't a concession Democrats won. This was just the Senate finally doing their job and voting on bills that were already waiting for them. This is what Democrats do when they lose badly. They try to rewrite history in real time. They try to claim victories that don't exist. They try to make you forget what the actual fight was about. The fight was about Obamacare subsidies. They didn't get them. Everything else Clyburn mentioned? That was already done. Already passed. Already sitting there. So what was it all for? He can't answer because the truth is too embarrassing. It was all for nothing. They lost. They caved. And now they're desperately trying to pretend they won something. Anything. To save face with their far-left base. This is political malpractice caught on camera. And the fact that CNN didn't press him on this shows you exactly whose side they're on.
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought we didn't want kings.
Nobody
Maybe we
wants
need
king.
king for a day. What do we need?
Okay, but wait.
That is literally a king spending money that is not
Judge
appropriated.
is not a king. The
No, you're
judge-
turning the president into one if he
No,
can
no.
spend without appropriation.
Well, now, if you got a rainy day fund, it was appropriated at
Correct.
one time. The fund didn't come out of the air. The money is sitting there. Now, they didn't appropriate it yesterday or the day before, but the money was appropriated last year sometime, and the rainy day fund was there.
This is the battle for America in a nutshell. You've got people like Scott Jennings bringing facts, data, and common sense conservative solutions. And you've got people like Navarro bringing emotions, personal attacks, and failed progressive ideology. The American people are smart enough to see through this. That's why they rejected these policies at the ballot box. Now it's time for accountability. Let me know in the comments what you think about this CNN meltdown, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more real conservative analysis that cuts through the mainstream media bias.